Hey everyone, if you're studying for the IELTS speaking test, I'm about to share a secret that, well, it's going to sound completely wrong, but it just might be the single best way to boost your score. So, let's break it down.
Does this feel familiar to you? You've memorized all this advanced vocabulary, you've drilled complex grammar for hours, you've practiced, and your speaking score is just stuck. You're trying harder and harder, but you're not getting anywhere. You know, it's an incredibly common and, honestly, a really frustrating problem.
I know, it sounds totally backwards, right? How on earth can trying less get you a higher score? Well, that is exactly what we're going to get into. This one little idea is the key to unlocking the speaking ability you already have.
Okay, so this all comes down to what I like to call the high score paradox. See, the very act of trying to impress the examiner, of showing off all those fancy words and complicated grammar rules, that's often the exact thing that's pulling your score down.
Think about it like this. Picture two people taking the test. First, you've got the robotic performer. They're stressed, their language sounds forced, they're juggling all this complex stuff in their head. Then you have the natural communicator. They're relaxed, they're clear, and they're just having a conversation. Now, which one would you rather talk to? The examiner feels the exact same way.
So why? Why does trying so hard turn you into this robotic performer? Well, it all comes down to a problem called cognitive overload. And that's basically just a big traffic jam happening inside your brain.
I want you to imagine for a second that your brain is a computer. It's a really powerful one for sure, but it still has a limited amount of processing power. You know, it can only run so many demanding programs at the same time before it starts to slow down, to lag. Now, when you're in that test, you're trying to run all of these super heavy programs at once. You're searching your memory for complex grammar, you're trying to recall that perfect high-level vocabulary word, you're trying to form a brilliant, complicated idea, and you're trying to remember all the test rules you memorized. That is a huge demand on your mental processor. And what happens? Boom. System overload. Your brain just can't keep up. And this is where those unnatural pauses come from, that hesitation, that stressed robotic tone. The very things that lower your fluency score are a direct result of trying to do way too much at once.
So how do we fix this? We fight back with minimalism. We're going to shut down all those unnecessary mental programs and instead focus on a simple toolkit. Just 4 rules designed to get you a band 8 or 9 by focusing only on what actually matters.
So here they are, our 4 minimalist rules. We're going to use simple language to free up our brain power, give direct answers to make us sound more coherent, be flexible so we sound natural, and make absolute clarity our #1 goal. Let's break each one down. Let's talk about language first. Your new goal is the 95% rule. What this means is that 95 to 99% of the words you use should be simple, common words that basically any English learner would understand. You only pull out a high-level word like interplanetary if, say, the topic is space travel and there's just no easier way to say it.
And this leads us to a whole new way of thinking about grammar. Forget trying to show off. The goal is functional grammar. It's about using the right tool for the job. If the examiner asks you about the past, you use the past simple. It's natural, it's accurate. Forced grammar, trying to jam in some complex structure just to sound smart, that only hurts your fluency and, honestly, it just leads to mistakes.
Coherence isn't about counting sentences. It's just about being easy to follow. So for part 1, just answer the question and add maybe 1 sentence of detail. That's it. For part 2, don't treat those bullet points like a checklist. Instead, focus on telling a good, coherent story about the main topic. And for part 3, just give your opinion directly, explain why you think that, and then give a quick real-world example. That simple structure is all you'll ever need.
And let's just bust a huge myth right now about pronunciation. Your goal is not a perfect British or American accent. It's not. Your goal is 100% clarity. The only question that matters is this: can the examiner understand every single word you say without having to strain? When you focus on clarity, all the other stuff like natural intonation and rhythm, it'll just follow. So we have the rules, we have the tactics, but to make them all really work, we have to adopt a new mental model. This is the big mindset shift that's going to tie everything together and unlock your natural fluency.
This is it. This is the single most powerful trick in the book. From now on, you are not in an exam. You are in a coffee shop, and you're just talking to a friend or a colleague. You are simply having a conversation. This simple mental shift forces you to communicate, not perform. It really is that simple.
Trying to impress leads to all the bad stuff: errors, hesitation, a robotic tone, all the things that hurt your score. But trying to communicate? That leads to clarity, fluency, and confidence, the very things that get you a really high score.
Okay, let's put this all together into a simple, easy-to-remember game plan that you can take right into the test room with you.
This is your new strategy. You walk in with the coffee shop mindset. You stick to simple words using that 95% rule. You use grammar that's functional, not forced. You answer questions directly and naturally. And above all else, you make your single number one goal to be 100% clear. That's it. That's a whole plan.
So, I'll leave you with this final thought. Maybe success on the IELTS speaking test isn't about cramming more complex rules and vocabulary into your brain. What if the real key is unlearning all the bad habits and the unnecessary pressure that have been holding you back this whole time?